Freshly baked homemade dinner rolls are soft, fluffy, and filled with rich buttery flavor that instantly makes any meal feel special. Made with simple ingredients and an easy step-by-step process, these warm, pillowy rolls rise beautifully and bake into golden perfection, giving you bakery-style bread right from your own kitchen. Soft homemade dinner rolls are one of the most comforting and rewarding things you can bake because they combine simple pantry ingredients with a process that fills your kitchen with warmth and an irresistible aroma. To begin, gather all your ingredients before starting so the process flows smoothly. You will need warm milk, active dry yeast, granulated sugar, unsalted butter, eggs, all-purpose flour, salt, and a little extra butter for brushing after baking. The milk should be warm but not hot, ideally around 38-43 degrees, 110 degrees, because yeast is a living organism, and temperatures that are too high will kill it, while temperatures that are too low will slow activation. Pour the warm milk into a large mixing bowl and sprinkle the yeast evenly over the surface. Add a spoonful of sugar and gently stir. Then let the mixture sit for about 5 to 10 minutes until it becomes foamy and slightly bubbly. This step confirms that the yeast is active and will help the dough rise properly. Once the yeast is activated, add the remaining sugar, melted butter that is cooled slightly so it does not cook the eggs, and 1 or 2 eggs depending on the richness you prefer. Stir everything together until well combined. The butter contributes softness and flavor, while eggs enrich the dough, giving the rolls their tender texture and golden color. Begin adding flour gradually, about 1 cup at a time, mixing with a wooden spoon or dough hook if using a stand mixer. Add salt after the first portion of flour rather than directly onto the yeast mixture, since direct contact with concentrated salt can inhibit yeast activity. Continue mixing until a soft dough begins to form and pulls away from the sides of the bowl. Turn the dough onto a lightly floured surface and begin kneading. Kneading is essential because it develops gluten, the protein network that gives bread structure while still allowing softness. Push the dough forward with the heel of your hand, fold it back over itself, rotate slightly, and repeat. Continue kneading for about 8 to 10 minutes until the dough becomes smooth, elastic, and slightly tacky, but not sticky. If the dough sticks excessively, sprinkle in small amounts of flour, but avoid adding too much, because excess flour will make the rolls dense instead of soft. A properly kneaded dough should spring back slowly when pressed with a finger. Place the kneaded dough into a lightly greased bowl, turning it once so all sides are coated with oil or butter to prevent drying. Cover the bowl with a clean kitchen towel or plastic wrap and place it in a warm, draft-free area. The dough should rise until doubled in size, which usually takes about 1 to 1.5 hours depending on room temperature. During this fermentation period, yeast consumes sugars and releases carbon dioxide gas, creating air pockets that make the rolls light and fluffy. Patience during this stage greatly affects the final texture, so avoid rushing the rise. After the dough has doubled, gently punch it down to release excess gas. This step redistributes yeast and equalizes temperature throughout the dough. Transfer it back onto the work surface and divide it into equal portions using a knife or dough scraper. For standard dinner rolls, divide the dough into 12 to 15 pieces, though smaller rolls can be made for gatherings. To shape each roll, flatten a piece slightly, then pull the edges toward the center to create surface tension. Turn it seam side down and roll gently under your palm in a circular motion until smooth and round. Arrange the shaped dough balls in a greased baking pan, leaving a small gap between each piece so they have room to expand. Rolls baked close together become softer because they support each other as they rise and bake. creating tender sides rather than crusty edges. Cover the pan again and allow the rolls to undergo a second rise for about 30 to 45 minutes until puffy and nearly doubled. This second proof is critical for achieving a soft, airy crumb. Skipping or shortening it often results in dense rolls. While the rolls are rising, preheat your oven to 180 degrees, 350 degrees. Proper oven temperature ensures even baking and prevents the outside from browning too quickly before the inside cooks through. Just before baking, you may brush the tops gently with milk, melted butter, or an egg wash. Milk creates a soft matte finish. Butter enhances flavor and tenderness, and egg wash produces a shiny golden surface. Choose according to your preference. Place the pan in the center rack of the oven and bake for about 18 to 22 minutes, or until the tops are golden brown and the rolls sound slightly hollow when tapped. Avoid over-baking, as excessive time in the oven dries out the crumb. If the tops brown too quickly, loosely cover them with foil during the final minutes. The internal temperature of fully baked rolls is around 88-93 degrees, 190-200 equals. If you are using a thermometer, once baked, remove the rolls from the oven and immediately brush them with melted butter. This step softens the crust and adds a rich aroma that makes the rolls irresistible. Allow them to cool slightly in the pan for about 5 minutes before transferring them to a wire rack. Cooling briefly prevents soggy bottoms while still keeping them warm and fluffy. The softness of dinner rolls depends on several key factors beyond ingredients alone. Proper hydration ensures a tender crumb, so the dough should remain slightly soft rather than stiff. Fat from butter and eggs shortens gluten strands, creating a delicate texture. Adequate kneading builds structure while proper rising times allow gas development. Humidity and room temperature also influence results, so adjustments may be needed depending on climate conditions. If you want extra soft rolls, you can use a technique called tangjong, where a small portion of flour is cooked with water or milk into a paste before mixing into the dough. This gelatinizes starches and helps retain moisture for days. Another variation involves replacing part of the milk with warm cream or adding a spoonful of milk powder to enhance softness and flavor. Flavor variations can be added easily. For garlic butter rolls, mix minced garlic and parsley into melted butter and brush generously after baking. For slightly sweet rolls, increase sugar and add a touch of honey. Herbs such as rosemary or thyme can be kneaded into the dough for savory versions. Cheese lovers may fold shredded cheddar or mozzarella into each roll before shaping. Seeds like sesame or poppy seeds sprinkled on top add texture and visual appeal. Storage plays an important role in maintaining softness. Once completely cooled, store the rolls in an airtight container or sealed bag at room temperature for up to 3 days. Refrigeration is not recommended because it accelerates staling. For longer storage, freeze the rolls by wrapping them tightly. They can be reheated in a warm oven directly from frozen, restoring much of their original softness. Reheating should be done gently. Wrap rolls in foil and warm at a low oven temperature around 150 degrees, 300 degrees for about 10 minutes. Adding a small dish of water in the oven helps create steam, preventing dryness. Microwaving works for quick reheating, but should be done briefly to avoid making the bread rubbery. Common problems often arise during bread baking, but they are easy to fix once understood. If rolls turn out dense, the yeast may have been inactive or the dough may not have risen enough. If they spread too much, the dough may have been overly soft or overproofed. Pale rolls usually indicate insufficient baking or lack of sugar or milk, while dry rolls often result from too much flour or overbaking. Measuring flour correctly by spooning it into a measuring cup rather than scooping directly helps maintain proper balance. Hand mixing and stand mixing both work well, though stand mixers reduce effort. However, kneading by hand allows better understanding of dough texture, which many bakers find helpful when learning. The dough should feel alive, warm, and flexible, gradually becoming smoother as gluten develops. This tactile experience is part of what makes bread baking satisfying. The science behind soft dinner rolls lies in fermentation, gluten formation, and moisture retention. Yeast converts sugars into gas and flavor compounds. Gluten traps the gas to create structure, and fats tenderize the crumb. Baking transforms the dough through oven spring, where trapped gases expand rapidly before the crust sets. Steam released from moisture contributes to softness, while browning reactions on the surface create flavor and color. Serving homemade dinner rolls fresh from the oven is a simple pleasure. They pair beautifully with soups, stews, roasted meats, or even just butter and jam. Splitting a warm roll releases steam and reveals a fluffy interior that reflects careful preparation. Sharing freshly baked bread often becomes a memorable part of meals because it represents time, care, and tradition. With practice, making dinner rolls becomes intuitive rather than technical. You begin to recognize when dough has risen enough by appearance and touch rather than strict timing. Environmental conditions, flour brands, and personal preferences all influence outcomes, making each batch slightly unique. Baking regularly improves consistency and confidence. Ultimately, soft homemade dinner rolls succeed because of balance, gentle handling, sufficient rising, proper hydration, and attentive baking. Even beginners can achieve excellent results by following the process patiently and observing how the dough behaves at each stage. The reward is a tray of golden, pillowy rolls that are far superior to store-bought versions, filling the home with warmth and comfort while providing a versatile bread suitable for everyday meals or special occasions alike.